Hey, whoa, who the fuck are
Hey, you ordered the Uber Eats horror video?
Did you order this? Yeah, sure, just put it on the ground.
Sure thing.
Hey man, are you, like, from around here?
Why is that?
Well, you don't look like the normal people I see at my door and...
Is that a problem?
Huh? No,
Are you trying to cause something, dude?
No, I just wanted to know that,
I'll be back later.
Come again?
I'll be back later with the next order.
Jesus. Hey, I'm Hamer. You ever think about why we're here? Not like why we're here on this planet, that's a boring question. Who would ever think that? I mean, why are we in our current state of horror media? Specifically in regards to a new trend of horror games you may have been noticing nowadays. Games like That's Not My Neighbor, Who's at the Door, Broken Law, Don't Watch, and of course, No, I'm Not Human. All of these are real game titles, all of which featuring people or doppelgangers that want to enter your home, typically in order to kill you. Or not, kind of depends if they are a doppelganger or not, right? And it seems this style of game has hit a chord in the horror gaming scene. I'm sure all of us have felt an increasing sense of isolation in the past years, whether it was the COVID lockdowns forcing us all inside, or the general replacement of the real world with the digital. But you've probably heard over and over again from hoity-toity dickheads how we've all secluded ourselves from each other, so I won't hit you over the head with that for now. Just a minute! What I will say is that strangers are strange to us. Fucking poignant observation right there. Type of commentary you only get on fucking YouTube. I mean, when was the last time you even spoke to your neighbor? Made a batch of ready-made Edmund's rich chocolate cake and just had a sit down with the people near you? If you are an actual extrovert, don't answer that. But if you're anything like me, it's been a hot minute. Coming! But is that it then? This new horror trend of monsters coming to your door is caused by isolation? Well, yes and no. Yes, it is a large factor. And no, there is so much more to talk about. Why is this trend popular in the first place? Why these games even look like, well, that? And why we're scared by them, and oh, I should probably find some time to talk about the games themselves at some point, right? Hey, sorry about that.
You kept me waiting.
Yeah, sorry about...
I said I'd be back for you, and I am. This isn't a surprise.
I don't think I'm comfortable...
Here's your next order.
Oh, right, yeah, thank you.
It's a breakdown of the themes, mechanics, and trends of these games.
Alright man, see ya.
You're welcome. You gotta tip me.
What?
I did you a service just now. Where's my tip?
Hey man, this isn't America? We don't tip here.
So you don't respect me then?
No, I...
Because I'm not American?
That's not what I'm saying at all.
I'll be back later for you. Stay alone.
God, I hate this neighborhood. The game that really kickstarted this trend and acts as the current flag bearer for the subgenre is the game No, I'm Not Human. So, I want to talk about it for a bit. And you know you're in for a fun one when we already have something to dissect in the title and box art itself. The cover depicts an anorexic looking fellow who's half naked, got a clean cut, and whose skin looks like it's been stretched across his body. Which, to a fella like me, doesn't look very human, with the man on the cover gleefully smiling back and confirming my fears. No, I'm not human. You can almost hear the gleeful way he says it too. He knows he's putting you off, making you feel anxious, reveling in the fact he doesn't have to hide his monstrous nature. It's like talking to a cigar man, just pure, unabated evil. It makes me glad that this short sentence title structure has become a pseudo-staple of DoorDash horror. That's Not My Neighbor puts you in the more conventional position of someone calling out a human mimic, alluding to the gameplay of cross-referencing documents and having to actively seek out the monsters. Who's at the door? Instills the idea that the only way to find out is to answer the door. That the very act of wondering is meant to create fear. And finally... Oh fuck. Which obviously tells the story of a TV licensing agency who saw you watching the BBC through your window. What's funny is that these titles are just one of the many inspirations from the game Papers, Please. Quite bizarre, I know. but give me a second here. The name puts you into the position of a fuck-ass border agent dryly asking for immigrants' documentation. And if you've never heard of this game and that description sounds more boring than watching paint dry, don't you worry, it's just the core gameplay loop to 90% of Deliver Easy horror. What Papers, Please convey succinctly is the horror of the mundane. You have nothing more than a small cubicle, a few notes, and a rubber stamp. And yet, that is enough to change the lives of thousands of people who are trying to make a better life for them and their family. You know, saving up all of their time and money to go through the legal channels. You need my passport? That's fine. Certification card? Alright. A work stamp? A full body scan? And a copy of my fingerprints? Sure, if it must be done. Oh, I need a vaccination certificate? When was this rule put in place? Last week. I guess I'll have to be back then, if I can. You might imagine this ruffling the feathers of the people you so callously shoo away. So that is why you have at least one piece of defense. A single pane of reinforced glass. Oh, and a metal trellis as well, I suppose. You can see how this can be easily warped into a horror environment, something akin to the feeling of sleep paralysis. You know, locked into a small room with little means to protect yourself, where people who want to kill you for some reason are just a thin piece of fabric away. You may even be able to argue this was an inspiration to Five Nights at Freddy's, being trapped alone in a tight office space and all, though sleep paralysis itself was probably the more likely inspiration. Anyway, from there all you have to do is combine FNAF and Papers, Please together, and you get Deliveroo horror. Just mash together poor immigrants and monsters that hide their visage with sheep's clothing. Surely that doesn't have any deeper implications that could hey, look over there. That's not my neighbor. It is the perfect love child of these two games. In it, you act as a security guard whose job it is to check people in and out of their apartments. The only issue being intruders who take on the appearance of the city dwellers to slip on up in that apartment building there. Why did I write it like that? So then starts the arms race between your ever-expanding list of documentation and the doppelganger's ability to mimic humans more and more convincingly. And while the game is great, there's one obvious downside, and that is the art style. While I do appreciate the stylized Guess Who aesthetic, it makes every scare as effective as my medication. It only really works if you close your eyes and imagine what a real doppelganger may look like. Oh, it's just John, no I'm not human. From the hit indie game, No, I'm Not Human. Glad he can make a visit. And since he's here, this makes a good time to bring up another layer of sinew that connects these games together, and that is the weird fellas in hazmat suits, who appear more often than the shitty VHS overlay. Most of these games are occurring during some sort of recent crisis. You know, like the sun getting too hot, and zombies rising from the grave sort of thing. Which may lead you to think, well, what's this government doing about this then? I thought I've done pay my tax dollars to fix potholes and prevent alien invasions. And these dang old fuckers aren't doing either. That's where your yellow fellows come in, acting as a liaison for the government. In some games, they act as your only vector for information about the face dealers, telling you how to identify them and such. But how do they know anything about these new wave of freaks, you may ask? You know, well, because they're always conducting some sort of kooky human experiment. Those are wacky government agents. They work away in the shadows and only make themselves known when they need something from you. Like either needing more test subjects they swear they'll give back, or needing you to shut the fuck up about something you know a little too much about. Maybe because you keep yapping your head off about your friend we took away last week, bitch. On rare occasion do you learn what the government is researching, or even if their methods are effective. All you know as a player is that things are kind of only getting worse. All the while, the government puts on a sort of competence theatre by doing and saying things that sound like something is being done, but who knows if what they're really doing is effective, or if they're actually in cahoots with the face dealers, and all of these experiments are in order to aid them. Whatever the case is, stop being mad and keep following orders, bitch. Information is controlled on every level, which is made pretty easy when your game takes place in the 80s. Games like this simply wouldn't have the same vibe if your Samsung smart fridge had the exact method to dissolve a freak in rock salt. Siri, what do I do here?
Dissolve that some bitch in some spicy mustard gas.
Oh. Yes, you've probably realized by now that not only do these games look like they're made in 1987, but are also usually set during that time. Obviously, it's easier to make a horror game in a world without smartphones. And it's also easier to make a game that looks like a low poly, but, you know, this is the whole vibe of indie horror gaming at the moment. And it's not made this way just because it's cheap and easy, and well, that plays a large role in it, but it also invokes the feeling of a specific time period, that feeling of the past. And look, this is a personal opinion, but horror games that use this style and aren't set in ye olden days simply don't have that source. Low poly visuals convey a sort of primitiveness compared to the tech post 2001. An alien world far removed from the high fidelity of the Xbox Series X2 9S. And listen, I know this is going to sound insane to anyone over 30 watching, go to bed granddad, but there is a real fear for Zoomers and younger shitlins about living in a world without your phone, without the internet. It feels isolating, like there's no one to turn to if something goes wrong, as if you are one doorbell ring away from your daymare turning into a nightmare. Hey, look, it wasn't that bad. Hey, look, and...
Hey, here's your snapback to the 80s horror culture you ordered, dickhead.
Whoa, hey, don't just throw that shit around, man. It's fucking expensive.
Nah, man, I looked at the back of the box. You just took all of your 3D models from Sketchfab.
Hey, don't tell them that. You're ruining the magic.
Yeah, whatever, man. Go fuck yourself, you non-tipping smooth skin.
Smooth skin? Hey, fuck you too, man. I can't believe I have to put up with this, and hey! I gotta get out of this place, man. There's another key aspect of analyzing any horror trend, and that is asking why we're scared of it in the first place, right? Fat lot of fuck using innovative gameplay elements like 4D smell-o-vision does for you, if your game's core conceit isn't scary at all. So the key aspects here of these games are thus: got me talking like a mid-century poet over here. An elevated form of stranger danger, overt government control and secrecy, as well as the 80s being scary, yo.
The government knows when you masturbate. The government knows when you feel alone and it's getting late and you're sitting at home.
Why these three things in particular are striking a chord with so many people right now is a question that, frankly, could be answered in a one-sentence Quora post, but where's the fun in that? If you wanted a quick answer, just Google the title of this video and read the AI summary. So let's try and learn ourselves a thing or two and learn about societies from yesteryears, specifically the 80s in America and the UK. Because isn't it fun to look back on olden times and laugh at the crazy things they believed in? I mean, look at these fools. They thought heavy metal music was turning their kids into Satanists. There's no way people in the big 2025 would fall for such obvious bullshit.
Can you say at the next Olympics, if you're present, there won't be, insulting Christians?
We won't be having a Last Supper.
Anyway, the 1980s were a decade of fear, best exemplified by the fact the biggest movie icons were all horror monsters. No matter where you'd go, you'd find Freddy Krueger, Jason Voorhees, or the funny It clown staring up your skirt. Hell, even the best cultural export of America, wrestling, couldn't escape the formidable Chucky doll.
Take a look. Get that dummy out of here. We're trying to conduct an interview. Who's that?
A good comparison would be how we treat superheroes today, but a little different, because the cold clutch of the Team Slasher movie didn't just reside on the big screen, it was also the target of the day's moral panics. On the nightly news, you'd hear reports of teens imitating the gruesome acts they'd see in horror movies, pastors and pundits lamenting how these films are rotting our youth to the very core. If these movies were to stay in public rotation any longer, we risk losing our kids to the devil. This would reach a fever pitch during the early 80s of the UK, with the introduction of the Video Nasties system, where people who carried or distributed grey market movies that had been blacklisted by the National Viewers and Listeners Association would face prosecution. The association itself was led by the UK Prime Minister, Margaret Thatcher, who self-admitted to not watching any of these movies she had banned. A real class act she was. And all of these bad movies were eventually compiled into a neat list, which contained films ranging anywhere from Cannibal Holocaust to movies considered classics anywhere else in the world, like Evil Dead, Night of the Living Dead, and Possession of the Dead. Though it should be noted that not all of these movies were considered criminal. The bobbies weren't going to take you on a trip in the paddy wagon because you watched a movie made by the guy who made Spider-Man 2. The Video Nasty list was split into 3 sections, with only movies in Section 1 being up for prosecution. But if you were a teenager at the time, Video Nasties worked more as a watch order, not something to avoid. And obviously the whole system backfired. The UK was very draconian for its video censorship, even for the day. But it was only a little bit worse than the United States of fuck, who only a decade prior had a law disallowing any movies that would, quote, lower the moral standings of those who see it. Hence, the sympathy of the audience shall never be thrown to the side of crime, wrongdoing, evil, or sin. Meaning, any of the movies that would throw old Maggie into a blind rage in the UK wouldn't even be allowed to be made in the US in the first place. This is one of the many reasons why horror had such an explosion in the late 70s, because cinemas could start to show actual half-decent spooky movies. Long ago were the days of Frankenstein's monster. There's a new cool kid in town called Halloween's monster, which caused its own cavalcade of pearl clutching and moral panics, of course, as everything did during the time. Couldn't even listen to the latest Prince album without some flat-nosed geezer falling into conniptions on the side of the street. Back to the movies, this brings us to the really fun part of this discussion. Why were these films so popular? A lot of physical and digital ink has been spilt on the subject, pulling apart the societal as well as material factors. But I'm going to come in as the 20-something who read 2/3 of a Wikipedia article and solve this case for good. Have you seen that scene from The Simpsons where Ralph Wiggum is interviewed by a bunch of journalists and shouts, "Stranger danger!" Yeah, that was pretty much the zeitgeist of the 90s. Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street, It, Hellraiser, yada yada, were all about kids having their safe spaces infiltrated. Whether it's their dreams or America's favourite way to spread cholera, summer camps. Often the monsters of these movies attack at random, stoking the fear that anyone can be attacked at any time. Though these magical murderers do often have a pecking order of their victims, with those acting unmoral often coming first. You've probably watched one of these movies before. The first kill is typically someone getting down to Jonestown in the rucksack, while the only one to survive is the pure, noble virgin. This trope becoming so commonplace it is the linchpin for the movie Cabin in the Woods. This plays at a fear running rampant at the time, that of the serial killer and the child kidnapper. Is that redundant? That doesn't matter. I'm sorry, but this section of the video is going to be a little dark. If that makes you uncomfy in any way, then I'm going to be breaking into your house in the night. And you can skip to this time code as well, if you like or want to, I guess. The 80s was the literal peak of serial killings. This was the era of Jeffrey Dahmer, as well as the Golden State and Sunstrip killers after all. This was also a decade where child sexual assault cases rose every year, and would only start to decline during the mid-90s. Missing children were on milk cartons, and every other day there was a news story about a new, horrific, mysterious killing. Look back to the teen slasher, and the average person in the 80s understood very well the fear of the serial killer. They understood their common victims, those that dance with the devil, and in the heart of your average American or Brit bonger, what they really fear is for this evil to take those who refuse sin's temptation, or worse yet, destroying the lives of those yet to take the test. Of course, not everyone thought this. The 80s isn't a monolith, and most people were there just to have a laugh at their friends getting scared. But that's the thing about horror. You can only have the popcorn fun-throwing scares if your fears are being played upon, so whether you realize it or not, you live in a society. I was really hoping the delivery guy would show up now, so I can get to my next section. I guess for now we'll talk about another thing these slasher movies provided people. A sense of comfort. Not only could these movies be blamed for corrupting the youth, but they also comforted our own prejudices, that only monsters could carry out this type of act. Monsters like serial killers who murder without reason, or child kidnappers who act out their own sinful desires. People from outside a community who don't think like us, or act like us. Aliens. Let's go back to a couple stats from earlier for a second. And although they are used to push a narrative of the monstrous stranger, The reality couldn't be any further from the truth. Serial killings were only so rampant because of police incompetence. Here's a quote from Dr. Amott, who spearheaded the collection of this data. If you take a look at the serial killings in our database prior to 1980, 22% had killed someone, gone to prison, been released, then killed again when they got out. Criminals were literally let go, if they were even caught in the first place. The fact these serial killers existed at all was a failure by one of the core pillars of American community, the police. Next is the CSA stats, which, if you actually look at the data, completely disproves the myth of the stranger in a white van, who corrals kids by convincing them to trade cool Pokemon creatures. Quote, 91% of child sexual abuse is perpetrated by someone the child or child's family knows, with the kids of parents being the primary culprit of 90% of child abductions. And yet again, this completely disproves the notion of the stranger monster. But since it's such an uncomfortable truth, the fact that rapists act on what is accessible to them, it is conveniently ignored. Instead, the blame is placed on everywhere the parent isn't. Kindergartens, church basements, you name it. All of this created a sense of moral hysteria in the 80s that would only hinder the ability for these cases to be solved. All of that was a bit heavy, I know. And welcome back those who just skipped that section. I'll be seeing you later tonight. To summarize, the 80s was the height of moral panics around the Western world, in no small part because of serial killers and child sexual abuse, which is then related back into the culture through means of the monster movie, which does as art does best and holds up a mirror to society, ourselves, comforts us in some ways, and also antagonizes us. I said that the slasher movie acted as a comforter for the 80s prejudices, but if that were only the case, then these movies wouldn't be put into the same satanic box as rap, D&D, and the unholy Pokemon.
There's a war going on right now for the children because Satan wants them really bad. Gotta catch them all.
Okay, maybe none of what was considered a target for moral panics made sense. Slasher movies, and horror as a whole, ask you, why are you scared? A question that can only be given in a society that holds these fears to be self-evident. I think we have enough understanding to come back to 2025 now. Hey, well, wait a minute, you forgot half my order. This is just a stranger in your home. Unbelievable. Alright, in the game Broken Law Don't Watch, you play as a Japanese shut-in, known as a hikikomori for all of you secret Chinese out there. Your apartment is a mess. You haven't gone outside for weeks, with most of your food coming from food delivery services. It's a bit of a shit situation, some would say, including the TV set, which is trying to constantly remind you of how shit you are. Talking heads evangelize the evils of a shut-in lifestyle, calling your kind a leech on society. What follows is a descent into madness as you try to keep those who want to harm you from coming into your home. Monsters, creepy pizza delivery girls, and even the TV licensing agency. Although Broken Law Don't Watch is a Japanese game, I still find it relatable from the Western chauvinist ivory tower I sit in. The COVID lockdowns forced us all to live this sort of lifestyle. Granted, probably not as messy, but only interacting with people on TV, in Discord, or the few poor souls forced to go door to door still. The impact of that month to year-long experience is still being felt to this day. In some admittedly funny ways, like causing game CEOs and Twitch streamers to pray hand in hand for another pandemic, but also the destruction of outside infrastructure, things like parks, malls, community centres, spaces often referred to as third places, a term you only hear about in regards to them being torn down. In the city of London, England, UK, Great Britain alone, 46 community spaces had been shut down, which is 2/3 of the city's total, all replaced with the digital dojo of Discord. The problem got so bad, in fact, The Prime Minister of the UK, Keir Starmer, even made a speech about it.
We risk becoming an island of strangers.
What a poignant observation, which will surely leave to spaces for people to mingle with their fellow countrymen, right? Revitalizing the outdoors, creating a space for a community to truly thrive? Oh, hold on a minute. I'm just getting word that actually the speech was in regards to immigration. Oh dear. This sentiment is echoed, of course, in places like America, who believe their country is already full of these illegal strangers.
The people that came in, they're eating the cats, they're eating the pets.
Demonizing people like you or me by calling us them, and falsely claiming they are eating pet cats and dogs.
Kristen, I hear you saying that they're baseless, but I'm not repeating them because I invented them out of thin air. I'm repeating them because my constituents are saying these things are happening. I mean,
But there's
just
no
yesterday,
evidence.
Sending people to prisons and countries they've never lived in, packed into cars by smug hooded thugs that don't care if you're here legally or not, using made up false pretenses that even the vice president says doesn't matter if it's true or not. It's all just vibes, man. What this rhetoric does is redirect people's anger onto some easy scapegoat. The non-human are causing the destruction of society. Haven't you seen the videos? Oh, they're not real? Well, they're pretty fucking funny though, right? Check this shit out. My last video dug into the absurdity this rhetoric often creates, so I won't get into it here. After all, you're watching a video about weird little freaks pretending to be a human giving you your burrito in a personal taxi. But there is one last point I want to touch on. The justifications behind these vultures of humans. They say that if they got rid of enough foreigners, that if people only lived with their own, as they have for millennia, then everyone would benefit, equally but separately, far away somewhere that is in convenient muking distance.
What am I doing?
And the only problems that ever occur in our world is when two incompatible societies mix. So if this racial purity was achieved, then all of the world's problems would vanish. I mean, hey, look at Japan. They have a population of like 99.9% native Japanese, a shining example of an ethno-utopia, some might say. What does Japan itself think of their racial purity? Well, some of them, including elected government officials, think that purity is fully fake. The Japanese society is filled with, and I'm not kidding here, secret Chinese and Koreans. Big enough group of people who think there is a significant portion of Japan that are other Asians pretending to be Japanese and making the country look bad. In particular, this city council member whose day job it is to harass tourists at a local park. This guy racks up millions of likes and views on Twitter by accusing any Japanese person who is acting disorderly of being secretly Chinese. This guy sucks, obviously, which of course means there's an entire different group of people accusing him of being secretly Chinese. If you want to learn more about this strange little freak, go watch the Japan analysis video, Professionally Annoying Man Tries to Kick All Tourists from Japan. It's where I got most of the research for this section, if I'll be honest. This is just a funny symptom of this, but have any of you watching played the Like a Dragon, formerly Yakuza game series? If you have, then you know that like half of those games have a late game plot twist where it is revealed that either a villain or a side character was secretly Korean the whole time. Even in the most racially pure society people can feasibly create, they still find a way to complain about immigrants. Fucking unbelievable. And sorry if if I'm laughing during this section. It's just fucking funny, man. It's crazy. It's crazy people think like this. It is absurd. But because of how absurd it is, it works fantastically for a horror game. Oh yeah, the monsters are outsiders who appeared suddenly one day, started fucking everything up while pretending to be one of us, so now we gotta get rid of the bastards. I want to give these games props for their biting social commentary, and I am. These games have some very strong writing behind them, but the social commentary is kind of baked in. It's like giving a kid first place in a baking contest when he just used Edmund's rich chocolate cake mix. Like, yeah, good job on the execution and all that, but you're just using a random Jordan Peterson tweetbot as your primary antagonist. And another thing, why are those pre-made cake mixes so... Oh my good lord, sweet baby Jesus Christ, what the fuck was that?
Eat shit!
Oh, it was just the delivery guy giving me the rest of my order. In conclusion, the most human thing about doppelgangers is the fact they're problematic. And it's gone cold too. I am a big fan of Garfield Eats Horror. It is a unique experience to really ask us what we think about people, which facial features, and which character traits do we think of as not human enough to blow a gentleman's head smooth off if they have them. Like this little fella in No I'm Not a Human, he spends the whole game telling you about his sick get-rich-quick schemes. So whether or not he's a doppelganger, I hope he gets experimented on to death anyway. All this concerned dad and static dread at the lighthouse. Is he only here for his son? Is there something else he wants? Why does he look like that? And wait, what is he going to do to his son once he finds him? Is he just going to sit up in the attic the whole time? Well, alright then. What I really love about the subgenre, and indie horror as a whole, is what it says about society. Horror has always been a cheap medium you shove out the door to satisfy a new trend. Indie horror is even faster in doing this, really cranks the whole process up to 11, and I really don't think that's a bad thing. There's a fascinating evolution to indie horror games, where you can see in real time how taste adapts. One day, staring at security cameras and 90s pizzeria mascots are the vibe. The next day, it's Krusty's 80s liminal empty office space. And now, it's HelloFresh horror. This is why I hope I didn't come off as saying, if you like Clown is Hungry, you hate immigrants. Same way I don't think liking Nightmare on Elm Street means you hate premarital sex. You know, or you do, I guess. Horror is a reflection of society. It can comfort our deepest prejudices or challenge them. It all depends on what you personally get out of the experience. So you should go out there, play some games that less annoying people are calling imposter horror. Wait, shit, fuck, I was trying to go the whole video without saying imposter.
We'd like to ask some questions of you over tea, but you don't have to let us in. Please let us in. Let us in.